Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 229A of Tales with TR. I'm your host, Terry Ryan Jr. Hope you're having an awesome week. I'm having a decent week, I got to be honest. Looking forward to Halifax next week. Hockey Helps the Homeless, November 7th and 8th. Before I start this, I always forget, keep an eye out. I got some merch coming. I got a new website coming. I often talk about these things. I get lots of, messages one way or the other about that sort of thing. If you guys want it and I make some money, everybody wins. So I'm going to take these. I'm going to have a website soon. What's a website? Everything's accessible, but a website will be a one-stop shop. You want to book me for an event. You want to buy a book, I'll have links there to both companies. You want to buy some merch, you want to look into some history, maybe, I'll have some videos, I'll have some Shoresy clips, some Shoresy happenings, what's up. I'll have a schedule, things, all things Tales with TR, Shoresy, books, events, all those sort of things. I will basically, if you're interested in this pod and my happenings and Shoresy's happenings, then I'll make it a lot easier to follow along. There's a lot of people. I'm talking here to a lot of Canadians, a lot of North Americans, hockey fans, but I realize now, if ever, just by some of the questions I get for the podcast, that people really do listen from all over the world. Now, for that, I will probably thank Shoresy and Chicklets to some degree. I know my books were out there before all that stuff, but let's be honest. Do a lot of people read anymore? Read books? I wouldn't think so. I know what my numbers are. I'm very fucking thankful to have, to have a best-selling book. I realize is tough, and it's tougher with each minute that passes. That less and less people pick up a book, even audiobooks. I'm not saying people don't read. They might read blogs or news articles these days, again, in the form of links, websites, Twitter links, Instagram, whatever it is, TikTok. Not saying people don't read, but full length books, not so much. So I appreciate that. And I know there's people out there, and even the books. It's nice that the Habs let me use their crest on the front. They didn't have to do that. It's a very universally known brand. So I've had help. I graduated with some people, and for those that are wondering, I've mentioned it a lot, but I got a double major folklore English degree, which is a Bachelor of Arts, right? And I graduated with some absolutely lights out writers that showed me pretty much everybody that I was taking my classes with when I took English. And it was 2010 to 2014, right? Wasn't all that long ago. So these people are out there now that would have graduated. These people are probably in their 30s. Most of them I graduated with. And I'm not sure. I'd like to reach out. A lot of them I didn't hang out with. I look forward to seeing them every day, grab my coffee, go in. I'd always go in early. But a lot of these English students were they were into, specific authors. I could go all over the map here. Let's just make it easy and say Shakespeare. I know that most people have heard of Shakespeare. So, as soon as I got in, I'd be taking, like, say, Macbeth or Hamlet. I'd try to, Romeo and Juliet, try to take the things that I might have taken in school that were kind of fresh to me a little bit, at least, because that stuff is in and out a lot of the time of your mind, right? I would do that, but honestly, in every single class, I got help. And then, folklore is a lot of storytelling, so that kind of helped me with the book. And then, a lot of grammar, a lot of courses, how to creatively tell a story, those things. So as my book was, as I had a contract and I knew that it was going to be a thing, I had publishers that were interested. I mean, that was my first 2 years, but the last year and a half of my university, I knew this book was going to come out. So I'd take courses to help me be able to write it, right? I didn't get any help writing it. I didn't want any. So, but I wanted to do a decent job. So, like, I was literally learning some creative tricks as I was going. And I'd go back and go, oh man, I should have done that in the first trip. I think you guys, if you've read my book, you'll notice there's a quote at the very beginning, and it's about hockey and a hockey dressing room. being very similar. It's a metaphor for real life, right? The things that it takes to make you a successful hockey player, make you a successful person when it comes to life after hockey. And whatever the quote is, that's the essence of it. But I drop it at the very beginning. It's one of the first things I say in the book. And then it's also how I end the book, right? That is a tool that I learned halfway through doing some creative writing course. And I had people in there, man. And I was like, oh, shit, like, that's great. That's an awesome idea. So I'll go back and change it. So, my book at first was just like notes slapped on paper that I'd done way back when they were happening. And then that turned to like some form of narrative. I started to write it out. And this was over the years. I didn't know it was a book coming out, right? So then when the actual book, it came time to come out, I'm not going to say I was panicking, but I was and I went right through in school. I took courses every summer, right? Because I remember the last little stretch was summertime. And I was just in there picking everybody's brain, in summer. Memorial University, for those that don't know, in Newfoundland, we have like 25,000 students. It's huge. Summer, not so much. I don't know. It's probably whittled down to 10 or so, but that's just a guess. There's a lot of students not around in the summer, and I would really enjoy that. So it's not as busy, so you can ask the professors for some help here and there, and that probably wouldn't be available at a normal time. But anyway, that's how it all went down. And I had people I graduated with that are absolutely brilliant, like that really, like they say in hockey, couldn't hold my stick. Like in this, I couldn't hold their pen. Absolute brilliant. And then like I come right out of it. And the year I'm graduating, I have an immediate bestseller, Tales of a First Round Nothing. It took like 3 months. Now a bestseller in Canada is 5,000. Bestseller in the United States is 50,000. So yeah, I'm not any less grateful. And in Canada, my book went, bestseller multiple times. I'm not sure how many now. I'm going to guess 4 or 5. It could be more. I don't know. It sells a lot because of these avenues that I happen to have. The Jason Greger show. I always seem to like turn over a new rock, and there's people that haven't read it, and there might be a small portion of that. But each episode of Shoresy, right? That's new. As the show takes off, right? If we watch when it comes out, and season 4 comes out in January, I really don't know how the numbers work, but you're talking worldwide now. You're talking millions of people watching the show. So if we were to get, I don't know, 50, I'm thinking this is low for a new show, or a new season episode of a show, but say we get 50,000 new watchers, right? If I could just get a small, like 10% of that, right? 10% of that's 5,000. And if I could just get them to listen to the podcast once, now you might, or buy books or whatever it is, either one. So if you get a small percentage of them to buy a book, right? So let's say 5,000, now you get 1,500 or 2,000. Not that I'm trying to consciously do that. I'm just saying it happens. So I have help, right? I might go, yeah, my book's a bestseller again. That is really luck of the draw that other people in my classes didn't have, right? I mean, what a luxury as your book comes out to be in the international limelight for some reason. Now, obviously, Shoresy's about more than me, and I know that, and I love that, and I love to be a small part in it. I'm just saying that I don't take any of that for granted. And as an author, I'm very, very aware that my numbers are mostly influenced by the avenues that I happen to have luck being part of. And those are Chicklets, Shoresy, Jason Greger show. Once in a while, Sportsnet, whatever, the Growlers game, there was another one, right? After that, I don't think I mentioned in the post game that I had a book or anything. That would have been cheesy. But the way it is nowadays, everything's connected. So you might get, I don't know how many eyes were on that. It became an international story. And knock on wood, it happens to somebody else this very season. I don't know what I'm saying. I guess I'm 10 minutes in, and I'm saying that there are unbelievable writers out there. And for you to choose my book as a hockey fan or as a fan of the English language, whatever it is. I really appreciate that much. Now, a few of you book readers, podcast listeners, whatever you want to say, had some questions. So, hey, TR, do you think the Oilers are hooped? So I'm concerned in Wetaskiwin. And you're asking, I think, because McDavid's hurt now, right? Young man or woman. I don't know. The short answer is no, I don't. To extend on that, again, I'm assuming you're talking about their less than spectacular record and the fact that McDavid's out. But look, this team, the Edmonton Oilers, happen to have the best player on the planet in most people's eyes in Connor McDavid. But I believe they were rated number one, even by FanDuel and Vegas odds. And I think most gambling sites had the Oilers number one favorite team going in. If not, it was number two, right? Being Florida number one, which makes sense for obvious history, for obvious reasons. Recent history being the most obvious one. Now, they would have, I think most people would agree that the Oilers still would rank way up there without Connor McDavid. So I know you're an Oilers fan. It sucks to watch. I mean, and not only that, as a fan, you're not only watching for the Oilers to win, which is the biggest part of it as a fan, but you're also watching for your best players to get awards or whatever, and just to watch highlight night. I mean, having McDavid. If I'm a fan, yeah, you might beat so and so. Let's say you play Nashville tomorrow, and you win 5-3. But with McDavid, it was 8-3. And he had 2 highlight reels, right? That's part of being a fan. So it sucks to you're not only talking about wins and losses, you're talking about watching your most dynamic player and a lack of watching him, I guess, which totally makes sense. But from a wins and losses perspective, listen, remember a few years ago, the Tampa Bay Lightning lost Steven Stamkos. I mean, Stamkos, I know he's getting older now, but like I'm talking 4 or 5 years ago when they won the first of their modern era cups. Well, I know you'd probably say 05 for that, but you know what I'm saying. They won 2 in recent history. The first one Stamkos was part of. I think he only played 1 or 2 shifts in the playoffs. He might have had a big goal, though. I think he went out at the end. It was either a big goal or a big assist, but he only played 2 minutes of ice time. He didn't play. He didn't play the playoffs. What? And much like the Oilers, Tampa were deep. You give me Draisaitl, I'll give you Kucherov. Right? Whatever. And I mean, you can go to Point and Vasilevsky. I mean, they have superstar power, of course, but so do the Oilers. Hence, they're rated 1 or 2 by most people, most critics, going into the season. So you don't be rated that high with having only being a one-trick pony. No, Stamkos is one thing, and they won the Stanley Cup. And I know people look back now and they say, Stammer and he brought cups to Tampa, which he did, and he still brought them there, and he unified everybody, and he did a whole lot. But they lost their quote-unquote leader, and they won the cup, and they lost them, not for a shift or 2. Now, I can think, if you want to cross sports, the LA Lakers, one of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's last titles, NBA, those who don't know, the Los Angeles Lakers. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played for some unbelievable teams when he played for the Lakers, and they won multiple championships. One of those, Kareem missed fully games 6 and 7 at least. It could have been more, but I'm just going by basketball docs that I've watched. And of course, I did no research this morning because I didn't know I was going to bring this particular event up, the NBA championship, 30, 40 years ago. But I just remember that happening. So, and I also remember Connor McDavid getting hurt one of his first years in the league. So, that sucked. If you're an Oilers fan, they weren't going to win. He was just in. He was off on a roll. He was starting to accumulate some big points. Remember, he hurt his shoulder falling into the boards awkwardly. And I get it. I get that sucked. But this time it sucks, but you have a chance for a cup. Let the guy get, and all indications are he's not out for that long. So however long it is, it gives everybody else a chance to rally, right? If I'm a kid is one thing. If I'm in the lineup, like a guy like Adam Henrique, an experienced NHL veteran, but he's not off to an unbelievable start. Now he'll get a chance probably to be on the second line, right? A guy like Noah Philp, I see, got called up, right? He's going to get a chance. He had an unbelievable camp, but something has to happen. I mean, ideally, it's not your best player going down for too long, but he's going to get a chance, right? Now, what I hated about that, again, I'm going to call you Concerned, because that's what you signed. But thanks for listening again, Concerned. But listen, like I watched that Columbus game, and by the way, I think Knobloch's doing an awesome job. I really do. So I don't want him gone or anything. But it is the kind of game that gets a coach fired, right? There was no one even trying. There was no one that had a hit, or I think I didn't know the analytics. I just observed, but I believe there's an opportunity now. These guys, it's hard for me to sit here and fucking talk down to a bunch of guys that just went to Game 7 in the Stanley Cup final, and I don't have any experience with that. But I do expect, on relative terms, I remember one of those games I got called up, and I was in an NHL game, and it was somebody, I can't remember, because Recchi played the game. It was somebody, maybe Koivu or one of those guys, needed a game or two. It was towards the end of the year, and I knew that I wouldn't be playing very much. I was in for this game, and I was going to get some ice time because there were some vets that were, and it was closer to the playoffs, so they wanted to rest these guys they were already in, and whatever it was. But I knew I'd get my opportunity, so I just said I'll finish every hit. I'll just go finish every hit, and you'll notice that's the game. Again, if you read the books, if you didn't, it's fucking fine. But I'm just giving you a reference point. That's the game I talked about against Buffalo. I fought Bugner and Barnaby. They're both on YouTube. Look them up. Look up the first one against Bugner. And I finished my hit way late. Just late enough not to get a penalty, but to let him know I'm not fucking around. Right? And I wasn't trying to fight. I ended up getting in two. That's what happens when you play tough teams and you go around like a chicken with your head cut off. But that was it. There didn't have to be fights. It really didn't. People look at it and go, even the Growlers game, I did not plan on fighting. It seemed like a novel idea at first, and I know that everybody who knows me knows I thought about it. And I really would. At first, I was like, yeah, at the very least, so hopefully I can score a goal, but if not, I'll get – and it ended up happening. But once I played the game and put my skates on, I realized, like, I can't just go out there like a donkey and fight and lose. What if I might win, but if I lose, I've let my team down, and they're hiring me for a reason. On that bench, I was – just like fucking Noah Philp would feel. I promise you. That's the way I felt. I didn't think there'd be a future in it for me, but an East Coast League game to me at 47 was no different than a kid getting called up, man, to the NHL. So, and I think Drake Kajula, I think. Drake Kajula is his name. He's called up as well. He's got some NHL experience, and he does finish hits full of piss and vinegar. Not a huge fighter. So that's not what I'm saying. But that game against it either fight or hit or block a shot or start a scrum, do something. And they lost 6-1 in Columbus against a very inferior team. What I noticed was, is it Mathieu Olivier? He had 2 points. This is a guy who's known as a tough guy. This is the guy who I think stopped Rempe in his tracks when he was just taking on the whole league when he was on his league tour of tough guys last year. This guy's known more for his fists than anything else. But he's not bad, and he's not. And he's a great third liner, I think. And he skates around, and you better have your fucking head up or he's going to finish. Now, he was doing that, and twice, I think Emberson was one, he fucking cleaned out guys. 2 huge hits. Now, the Oilers, do I expect fucking Zach Hyman to jump over the boards and fight him? No. But I expect Zach to finish his hits and go to the net, which he normally does. I can go down the fucking lineup. I don't expect Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl and these guys, of course, I don't expect them to go out and mix it up, but you got to come out and look engaged, or they're going to walk all over you, especially your leaders, right? And that's what happens. And I saw a team that didn't want to deal with Olivier or anybody else, and also a team that was a little bit down that their captain was out. But it's the Oilers again, so that's what I saw, and it was pretty fucking obvious. But the other thing I know is that I haven't even played in the NHL playoffs. And so these guys, I shouldn't be saying that and pointing it out because they know the difference. They've accomplished more in their hockey careers than 99.99999% of people, including myself, who have ever accomplished, including myself, who played in the NHL. But a next level is playing in the playoffs and then going to the Stanley Cup. Man, I remember when we were in the playoffs, I was just dying to get in. Black Aces, because if not, it's fun being a Black Ace in Montreal during the playoffs. How can it not be? Right? You're down there, you're putting on the fucking Habs jersey, you're practicing with the guys, but then you're filling up water for them on the way out or whatever. We used to bring in Gatorades. Here, Saku, whatever. Just make yourself fucking useful, Now, I don't look back at any of that as a bad experience. It was fucking awesome. But it would have been nice to get in a game, right? So we did ride the playoff ride for a little bit. And they took us on the road to Pittsburgh once. I had nothing bad to say about all that, but I know that it must be fucking wild because we went to the final in the American League one year, and it just seemed like such a long road, man. It was like mid-June and get out of there, and it can wreak havoc on your brain a little bit because you want some time, right? I remember going, fuck, we didn't win it. We don't get a ring for anything. And lots of my peers have been off for 2.5 months by now, right? 2 months, I'll be back at camp again. I never complained about playing hockey, man. It was always a privilege, but I can see how that would wear on your mind a bit. So the Oilers going to Game 7 and all that, it seemed really anticlimactic, I would think, not to win and then come back just like 2 months later to go to camp again and go through everything while those Columbus guys are sitting at home for an extra 3 months last year. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying they were more rested or anything else. Or am I making excuses? Because the Oilers, like I said on the Gregor show yesterday, that was a fucking. I was a shade under embarrassed watching them, and that kind of effort, I would think, is unacceptable, and I'm sure they'll hear it. But I'm not I'm certainly not the one to throw fucking daggers here at the Edmonton Oilers, who are so well accomplished. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I think a lot of other people saw it. It's more of an observation. Sometimes some teams, I get so fired up, and someone will ask me about someone, I'll go, you know what? I hope I fucking light a fire under them. I don't need to light a fire under the Oilers. First of all, they're not going to hear this commentary. But even if they did, I think the answers are within the room, right? It was just a poor effort at a real, real bad time, and I think they'll snap out of it. But anyway, to answer your question, are they hooped? No, they're not. I think this will bring them together. It really will. Guys like Hyman, who's got no goals. Henrique, I think, has one or maybe none as well. 1 point. They both have 1 point, right? Just the law of averages. You take away the 20 to 25 minutes McDavid was going to get, and you disperse them, and someone's going to score a goal, right? And hopefully that someone is maybe Zach Hyman or someone who really needs it to break out of a slump, right? And a lot of them are slumping. A few of them were in, and I think Nuge got one in Columbus. Maybe it was the game before, but he's not. Draisaitl's had some unbelievably timely goals, and he's got 6 already. But I think he got a point a game, and I know there's more expectations, but that's not quite. Would you be happy at the end of the year if Draisaitl has 80 points? Probably not. Not a bad year, but they're all underachieving, right? Let's agree on that. So I don't think they're going to continue underachieving. I have all the confidence in the Oilers in the world. And at the beginning, the first day of the season, once again, I picked them to win the Stanley Cup. I'm not saying it to appease the Edmonton audience. I'm just, if history says anything, it says that the teams that are awesome, that have the best player, at some point win. And I'd love to see. I'm proud of McDavid. Connor McDavid as a Canadian. I can't wait to watch him play in the Olympics more than the Four Nations Cup. I don't understand why there's only 4 nations. You're taking away some of the best players in the world. So I don't know. The spark's not there for me. It'll be nice, though, to watch him play. And he's got all kinds of great hockey ahead. But as a Canadian, I want to see him win a Stanley Cup. I do. Because all the absolute generational best have. And I think he deserves it after the effort last year that he put in. And you couldn't expect anything more out of a guy or a player. But you got to get that Stanley Cup ring to get the recognition, and he doesn't have it. Anyway, and I hope they do for that reason alone. And if not, I really do cheer for a Canadian team to win. It sounds like I'm trying to play all the avenues here, but I am kind of on the fence there because I'm a hockey fan generally, but Canada hasn't had it for a long time. And, I sit here in Newfoundland. I'm not affiliated with a team directly. I'm really not. I am a proud Canadian, and I know the way it works. Sometimes a Canadian team will win and they got like 5 Canadians. I get it. I guess that hasn't happened, though, because we're well into the era that's possible, but we haven't won it in 30 odd years. So that's it. So if you're out there and, you're in one of the markets I don't speak about much, I do watch a lot of hockey. And where I'm on the Gregor show, I get a lot of questions about the Oilers, and just being in Canada, I get a lot of questions about the Leafs and the Habs, I think, because of their history. And they just probably have more numbers cheering for them than most other. But if you're a fan of any team, really, send me a note. And Twitter's the easiest way to do it. I might get it through Instagram. But if you send it through Twitter, if you do it through Instagram, send it through a story, and I'll for some reason, I get those. Not a reel. Don't send me reels to watch. I don't watch any of them. This goes for my buddies too. I just don't have time. Or like forwards or shit. I don't have any time for that. But anyway, the best avenue is probably Twitter. Send some questions in, and I'll answer them. I like to cover all the teams, but just given the nature of my existence and my work, I understand I talk about some teams more than others, right? But again, when I answer these questions, they can come from wherever, and most come from those markets. Listen, I'll be back in just a couple of days with more Tales with TR. Really, thanks very much to Sandman last week. He was awesome. Curtis Gabriel, I'm going to see you again next week at Hockey Helps the Homeless. Keep an eye out for my website, folks, and I'm going to have another great guest in just a couple of days. Thanks for tuning in. If you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and you go to George Street, please hit Trinity Pub, Rob Roy Confusion, the Martini Bar, Green Sleeves, and of course, the Bull and Barrel. If you're going to go for a bite to eat, check out Loose Tie, Blue on Water, and Wedgwood Cafe, who also do catering. And they're located on Elizabeth Avenue, of course, in the East End. If you're going to work out, strength and balance for the body and mind, no one better. Ryan Power Conditioning, Rope Walk Lane. Check it out. You're going to go to Mr. Lube, two locations in Newfoundland and Labrador. One's on Torbay Road, one's on Kenmount Road. Live, laugh, low! Pitbull Pain Relief Paint Sticks. Just don't quit. Go to pitbullpainrelief.com. See what all the fuss is about. Subshack. It's in Idaho. If you are in Sun Valley, Idaho, or going to make one stop before you do anything, make that stop at Subshack, my favorite spot to eat in the Northwest USA. Muggsy jeans, comfortable, stretchy. I fucking love my Muggsy jeans. True Hockey, take what's yours. Folks, we'll be back in just a couple of days with more Tales with TR. Catch you guys on the rebound.